Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing, man? Antonelli here. Today, we're looking at the top 10 largest free agent contracts by total value of all time. Okay, keep that in mind. This is not by the highest annual value, but by the total value. Okay, we're gonna go starting at 10, and we're gonna work our way up to 1. Before we get into it, if you're a high school baseball player, I highly suggest you check out Impact Baseball's College Coach Showcase Camp. If you want to play college baseball, you're not going to want to miss this camp. January 25th in Boston, North Carolina, there's going to be over 25 colleges represented at this camp. Players are going to receive instruction. You're going to be able to listen to college coaches speak about college baseball. You'll go through an extended workout, batting practice. Pitchers will be able to throw bullpens, and the facilities are amazing. You'll have a turf field and also a large indoor facility if it's needed. So make sure you can go in the description box below. There's a link to the camp for more information and to sign up. And there's also another link that contains a video from past camps. So make sure to check that out and sign up today. All right, so we're going to start with number 10, and it's David Price with the Red Sox, 7 years, $217 million. Signed it in 2016, and he signed through 2022. So before Strasburg this year, the largest free agent contract was for Price. And there were a few other guys, Zach Greinke, Scherzer, and Kershaw, that were $200 million pitchers. And he joined this group. He was 29 when he signed the deal. He spent his first 8 years with the Rays and also with a little bit with the Tigers and the Blue Jays. Now, there are some people, especially I'm up in the Boston area, that think that, Price was overpaid, and, the Red Sox are rumored to be trying to move that contract now to get under the luxury tax. But he brought him a World Series, and he pitched really, really well in Game 2 and then Game 5 over the Dodgers. So he did ultimately bring another World Series to Boston. Okay, now let's go. We have two guys tied for the 8th spot. First one, Robinson Cano with the Mariners, signed a 10-year deal for $240 million in 2014. And that contract goes through the 2023 season. So he signed this deal at the age of 31, spent his first 9 years mashing baseballs with the Yankees, and he obviously was a stud. Probably the top second baseman of the decade. 5-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 2 Gold Gloves, and he won a World Series in 2009. He hit really, really well. He played really well with the Mariners. He was an All-Star 3 of his 4 years there. Now, obviously, you give a 31-year-old a $10 million or a 10-year deal. It's hard to think that they're going to play really, really well throughout those 10 years, basically to 40 years old. That is tough, but he's still hanging on and still trying to hopefully hit well. Okay, the other player is Albert Pujols. With the Angels, 10 years, $240 million, signed in 2012 through 2021. Had an amazing career with the Cardinals, 11 years when he finally signed this deal as a free agent with the Angels. 3-time NL MVP winner, 2-time World Series winner, Rookie of the Year, 9-time All-Star, led the league in homers 2 years, back-to-back years, won a batting championship in 2003. And he signed that huge deal when he was 32. So the Angels are going to have him, for a little bit longer. And he's obviously way up there in age, and he's had some injuries. He's still done okay with the Angels. Some people say he hasn't, done well with the contract, but he was never going to do what he did in St. Louis over in Anaheim, being a 32-year-old signing that deal. But he still has over 1,000 hits with the Angels, and he's actually, interesting stat, one of 9 players in MLB history with 1,000 hits in both the American League and the National League, which is pretty cool. Has almost 200 homers with them. He's got a 40-homer season. He has 230 homer seasons. And he's reached, a bunch of different milestones as far as home runs go and hits. He has over 3,000 hits now, over 600 home runs. So he'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. Okay, now we have 2 players tied for 6th. First one just happened, Stephen Strasburg. 7 years, $245 million, signed through the 2026 season. And he opted out of his contract after winning the World Series. So he was dominant this year, and especially in the playoffs and the World Series. He had $100 million due to him. And he opted out. You know why? Because he knew he was going to get a lot more. So turned out to be a really good decision. Led the NL innings this year and wins 18. Had a 3.32 ERA, just over 250 strikeouts, and finished top 5 in the Cy. I think finished 5th in the Cy Young, and then dominated in the playoffs, and he was given a whole bunch of money, $35 million a year, not too bad. And his former teammate is tied with him, Anthony Rendon. Signed with the Angels, 7 years, $245 million. Signed through the 2026 season as well. Same as that contract. Probably the best position player on the market. Here's an interesting stat for you. He is one of only 2 position players that's had a WAR of over 6 over the last 3 seasons. Can you guess the other player? Should be kind of easy. Well, it's his new teammate, Mike Trout. Greatest player to ever walk the planet. So he's also, $35 million a year. Highest ever for a third baseman. And we'll see what happens. It's a lot of money. But he's had 3 really solid years in a row. And the Angels had money to spend. I think they wanted pitching. I think they missed out on the pitching that they really wanted. So left a lot of money to give to him. Okay, number 5 is Alex Rodriguez, back with the Rangers. When Alex Rodriguez played for the Rangers, he might have been my favorite player of all time. What a stud. 10 years, $252 million. Signed it in 01 through 2010 season. So this is the one that he signed before, going over to the Yankees. He was a stud with the Mariners beforehand. He left at 25 years old. Sorry, Seattle fans. That must have really, really hurt. But signed this huge deal at the time. Mike Hampton, $121 million with the Rockies, just got completed. And that was considered like this humongous deal. And then he went on and doubled it. And it's interesting. This is another cool fact. Kevin Garnett in the NBA had a $126 million contract. At the time was the largest professional sports contract. And A-Rod doubled it. So we're talking a monstrous deal. And he played 3 years in Texas, and then he was traded over to New York. But I know some people were like, oh, this deal's outrageous and nobody's worth this. If you look at his stats when he was with Texas, he averaged 52 home runs a year and 132 RBI. That is unbelievable. He won AL MVP. And then he went on to New York, and he kept going. He won 2 more MVPs. So number 4 is Alex Rodriguez again with the Yankees. So he ended up opting out of his deal and signed another 10-year deal for $275 million in 2008. And that went through a 2017 season. So he opted out of the final 3 years of his first deal to sign this huge one. And And this was the biggest free agent deal in MLB history at the time. And he helped them win they helped them win the World Series in 2009. And he went on. He won 2 MVPs in 05 and 07. So turned out pretty well for him and for the Yankees. I know the end didn't work out so great, but he played really, really well, especially at the beginning of that contract. Number 3 is Manny Machado with the Padres. 10 years, $300 million. Signed it last year, 2019 to 2028 seasons. Now, he's the first ever $300 million free agent in MLB history when he signed that deal. And not long after it, something else happened. We're going to get to that in a second. But at the time, this deal, I mean, it still is a huge deal. It's the 3rd biggest all time. But it was the biggest for a little bit. And obviously, we're still really early into this contract, and we'll see what happens. The Padres are putting some really good young talent on the field. And, Manny, I think, has a chance to be kind of one of those veteran cornerstone players. And we'll see how it works out here over the next couple of years. Number 2 is Gerrit Cole. Just happened with the Yankees, 9 years, $324 million signed through the 2028 season. So, record-setting deal. He was, along with the next guy that we're going to talk about, it's interesting, the 2 biggest contracts, I'm sure you already know who number 1 is, but the 2 biggest contracts were both given to the first overall picks in the draft. Cole was taken first overall by the Pirates in 2011. And here's another interesting stat. The 9-year contract is the second most, as far as length goes, for any pitcher ever, except for Wayne Garland back in the 70s. Signed a 10-year deal. But not for anywhere close to $324 million. So, Gerrit Cole, we'll see. We'll see if he ends up being the missing piece to a Yankees championship. They haven't won one in a little bit since 2009. So, they're hungry for one. Let's see if this brings them it. I think it could. And then number 1. Number 1 is Bryce Harper. 13 years, $330 million. Signed it last year through the 2031 season. A couple things happened before Harper signed this deal. Giancarlo Stanton got a humongous record-setting extension with the Marlins. And I think this kind of set the bar or the floor for the type of deal that Bryce Harper was going to be able to get. And obviously he ended up getting it. So, he had multiple teams that were really interested in him. Dodgers were fighting for him. Giants were fighting for him. A couple of teams that had a lot of money, that were willing to spend a lot of money. And then obviously the Phillies. And the Phillies had, big market, a lot of money to spend. And they came through with a 13-year deal. Biggest free agent contract in the history of all the major sports in America. And a couple of interesting things also is that there's a no-trade clause. So he's not going anywhere. He's going to be in Philly for a really long time. And there's no opt-outs either. So, usually now when you see these big contracts, you'll see some type of opt-out. But there's no opt-out in this. So it is just a marriage between Harper and the Phillies. They're going to be together for a long time. And we'll see what happens with this. The Phillies have gone out and spent more money this year, bringing in Wheeler, bringing in Gregorius. And so they've got money to spend, and how they haven't won one in a while either. So we'll see what happens here going forward.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Share with all your friends. All that good stuff. And we'll talk to you later.